Hey guys, this is Nick from Aguazio, here to show you how to install the MLRun kit. There's two ways to do it. One is using Docker and one is using Kubernetes, and today we will show you the Docker installation. So on the MLRun homepage, go ahead and click on Installation Guide, and from there select Local Deployment. This is the Docker instructions. I want to start off by saying that Docker installation is limited to local, Nucleo, and serving runtimes and local pipelines. It is a little bit more limited than the Kubernetes installation, but it's easier to get up and running. If you're looking for a more advanced installation with the ability to run jobs with dedicated resources, like run this job with 2 CPUs and a GPU, you're going to want the Kubernetes installation, which will have its own dedicated video. That being said, Docker is a great way to get up and running. So in order to install using Docker, we're going to need two things. One is Docker, and the other is Docker Compose. Docker lets us run containers, and Docker Compose lets us run multiple containers together. So for installing Docker, I recommend using something like Docker Desktop. You can see I have this installed here. Just go ahead and Google Docker Desktop and you will find it. And for Docker Compose, there's a link right here that you can click on to install that. To make sure that they are running in my terminal, I'm going to run Docker. That works. And Docker Compose. That works as well. So we are all ready to install. In terms of the MLRun Docker installation, there's two options. One is use MLRun with your own client, and the other is use MLRun with MLRun Jupyter Image. The only difference being, the first one has a standalone MLRun API container, and the second is the API is packaged up in the MLRun Jupyter container. Honestly, I really just recommend using the second option. In both cases, you can access the API, but in the second option, you have the Jupyter image if you want to use it. So I'm going to show you this option, but the procedure is the same for the first. So I'm going to skip down to that section. And in order to install, it's pretty straightforward. What we're going to need is this Docker Compose file. This is the recipe for showing how to spin up the containers and how they interact together. You can click here to download it. You can click here to show it. This is what it'll look like. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click this link, copy link address, and in my terminal do wget, paste it, and then I have my file. If I cat it out, it looks exactly the same as it does right here. So that was easy. And in order to install it, we just need to run these 4 commands. If you're running this on your laptop, this first one is actually optional. This is just saying, what is the IP address of the machine I'm running on? And it defaults to localhost. So again, if you're running on your laptop, this is optional, but I would do this for completeness. This will be 127.0.0.1. That looks good. The second one is important, the second command. This is basically saying which directory on my laptop do I want to map to the containers running the MLRun services. This will let you save things like models and data sets in the MLRun database, and it will persist them between spinning up and down your Docker containers. This is important because Docker does not usually save data when you're spinning up and down containers. So I'll copy that over, and that looks good. This third command will create the directory if it doesn't already exist, and in my case it does. So the last thing we'll do is copy this last command to spin up our services using our Docker Compose file. I want to note that anytime you're running a Docker Compose command, it needs to be in the same directory as your YAML file that you're pointing to. So in this case, I am running it here, and my Docker Compose file is in the same directory. So I'll go ahead and copy paste and run it. This will spin up my services, and you'll see a bunch of logs in the console. These are from the services themselves. And I can go ahead and click on these different things, and they will be up and running. So this is great. You could stop here. What I typically like to do is run with an extra parameter, because if you were to close your terminal or press Command-C, it'll shut everything down, which if you're trying to stop it is great, but if you accidentally close your terminal, it is not great. So what I usually do is run the same command, but with an extra -d. That will make sure to run it in the background, and if you close your terminal, everything doesn't stop. So what we can do is open up all of these links in our browser, and all of our services should be loaded. So we can see Jupyter is here, give that a second to load, MLRun is here, Nucleo is here, and our API is also here. It'll just take a second to load. So all of our services are up and running. It was super easy to get installed. And when your services are running, what I recommend doing is going under Quick Start and running the Quick Start notebook. It uses MLRun, it uses Nucleo, and it shows you a little bit about how all the pieces work together. You'll also note that there's this data directory, which has all this information here from your mounted directory that you specified here in the terminal. So you notice that anything in this data directory will actually be on your local machine under that folder that we specified. So last thing is shutting down the services. If you ran the command as is like this, you can just press Command C and it'll shut down all your services like we saw before. And if you ran it with this extra -D, it's super simple to shut it down within the same folder as your Docker Compose file. You can copy this command, paste that in, and instead of saying up, you say down. That will spin down all of the services and stop them so they're no longer taking resources from your local machine. So that was pretty much it. Super easy to get up and running and start playing with MLRun. If you're interested in the Kubernetes installation, there will be a standalone video. So if you're looking to run dedicated jobs with dedicated resources, check that one out. So I hope this guide was useful, and I hope you enjoyed MLRun. I'll see you in the next one.